Here we are with another episode, 1200 Films Podcast. Chuck Love on the way to set the Guinness World Record and review all of them. This is the special Mothman edition. Why is it the Mothman? Well, I watched a Mothman movie, so why not make this the Mothman edition? And I've got a personal story to share with animations about something I personally witnessed not too long ago, but we'll get to that later. Let's go with the movies. 526 Jackals, Steven Dorff movie. Steven Dorff is not exactly reliable, but not a bad actor. This family kidnaps they kidnap one of their child, because he joined a cult and they're trying to switch him, and Steven Dorff he's the guy that's in charge of erasing the cultness out of him. Anyway, of course they do this out in the middle of nowhere in some little log cabin, and then the cult shows up wanting their guy back. So they start killing members of the family one by one and say, give us our guy back or else we'll kill the rest of you. So that's basically what's going on. It's not horrible, but not great. It's from the director of Saw 6 and 7, if that does anything for you. 527 Shaded Places. Found this on Amazon. It is listed as starring Christina Applegate from Married with Children and Jonathan Sheck, who is in a great old 90s movie called Generation Doom. And I thought, I haven't seen those guys in a while. Let's watch this. They're barely in it. They're both in it for maybe 5 minutes, but they're listed as the stars, which is a joke. But it's basically about this group of friends. They get back together in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Then Christina Applegate shows up and she looks around and says, I'm going to go outside and kill myself. So she does. She hangs herself with the swing set rope. And then they're kind of stuck up there because a rock fell on the highway and they can't get out. So they're stuck on this mountain. So they kind of have to cope. They can't even do anything with the body. They're just sitting out in the barn. Yeah, not a great movie. 528, another Jonathan Sheck movie, Dark Circles, a horror movie that's actually made me jump. I've watched so many horror films and rarely do I jump. This is why I jumped. Most modern horror films, you can almost time it out to the second. It's like 3 to 5 minutes varying on the film, and it does fake scare, real scare. Fake scare, real scare. And you can see it coming a mile away if you know what you're looking for, and blah, blah, blah. But this one, it didn't have fake scares, and sometimes it would go 15, 20 minutes before it would hit you with the real scare, so you're not really expecting this. And out of the blue, bam! But the movie itself was just okay. There's a couple moves into this new house, and of course, there's a story behind the house, and it's haunted. But, I guess it was okay. 329, this was interesting. Train. This American wrestling team missed their train because the kids were out partying. So they have to take this alternate train. And, this alternate train has some shady business going on. Apparently they're organ harvesting the passengers to sell them on the black market for large sums of money. So they're killing off the wrestling team one by one, and by the time they realize what's going on, there's not many of them left. So that's when they decide to fight back. But yeah, very gruesome. And the organs they were harvesting, I did not know you could harvest some of these organs. But yeah, it was gross. 330. Wild Like. This girl, I don't know what her deal was. She was like 15, but she's a whore. Not a whore, but she's a tramp, a slut. But she's trying to do the right thing, I guess, with her life, and she's stuck out in the northern wilderness because things didn't work out. So she's trying to get home. She's trying to get to her mother, yeah, because she was forced to live with her uncle, and her uncle rapes her. So she got out of there. So she starts sleeping around to get what she needs, and she has to take this trail, this wilderness trail, to get to her next spot. So she befriends this older man. He was a television actor I've seen in things, but I can't remember his name. But Seventh Heaven, maybe that's what he's. I don't know. But she befriends this old man, and he begrudgingly takes her along because she's a pain in the ass. But they kind of form a friendship along the way. It's what you'd expect. But yep, interesting film. This was interesting. 531 Tau, T-A-U, currently on Netflix. This doctor is kidnapping people to run experiments on them, basically to make them part artificial intelligence, I guess. And the one girl kind of escapes from her basement dwelling, and the other people with her get killed, and she's the only one left. So the doctor is, of course, annoyed. But he doesn't really lock her up. He pretty much lets her run around his little apartment, which is an underground dwelling. But yeah. And then the doctor, when he leaves for whatever, he has the house robot, which is like a HAL 9000 or 5000, whatever the hell was, from 2001, kind of has to watch her. So she figures the only thing that she can get out is befriend this robot to convince the robot to help her get out. So that's what she's trying to do. Interesting piece of work. Yep. Good science fiction. 532 Calibre. This was a good little thriller. These two guys go on a hunting trip in this little not New England, but an England town. It's a British movie. And they're kind of a fish out of water. But they go out hunting, and they accidentally shoot this little boy. And as they're investigating what happened, the dad of the boy shows up, and he's mad. So he's about ready to kill the guy that shot his son. So then the other dude's buddy shoots the dad. So now you got a dead boy and a dead man, dead in a tight little community. So what do? They decide to bury the bodies and then try to cover up what happened by just playing dumb. Well, eventually, the town figures it out. So what do? Let's just haul ass and run. Let's just run. We're in the middle of nowhere. Don't know where we are, but let's just run. Yeah, and it goes from there. Yep. But still, good little movie. Calibre. Where are we now? 533 Anon, or Anon. I think it's short for Anonymous. Clive Owen, science fiction, set in the future where everyone is digitally recording everything with their eyes because they have these implants. So that way, when the cops think you did a crime, they can check your eyeball and see what you did and to see if you really did it. But this woman, I think it's Elle Fanning, she's going around and killing people, but it's not being recorded. So they're like, what's this? How is she beating the system? So they have a hard time catching her since there's no recording of her killing. So yeah, that's what they have to figure out. They have an actual murder case, not just watching tape. But it was okay. Nothing special. 534 Something in the Woods. The Amazon synopsis of this film was so ridiculous. It said, brilliantly acted and wonderfully crafted script, and saying all these ridiculously wonderful things about this. It's a B movie about Bigfoot. Stop, but that's putting frosting on poo. But it was a better than average B movie Bigfoot movie. I'll say that. Beyond that, this family's getting stalked by a Bigfoot. So the guy brings his buddies over, and they can't find it to kill it. And Bigfoot's being a pain in the ass and stalking the children. And the funny thing was, throughout this film, the kids kept smelling Bigfoot. They kept saying different things about how bad he smells. Like, Daddy, he smells like rotten hot garbage. Daddy, he smells like 3-week-old ham sandwich. You can't just say, Daddy, he stinks. Daddy smells bad. No, you have to compare it to something ridiculous. But, yeah. 5:35, Young and Innocent. This was a Alfred Hitchcock movie. This guy, the innocent man is being tried for murder, and during the trial he escapes and befriends the prosecutor's daughter. He just kind of shows up in her car and it's like, hey, here I am, want to hang out? And she kind of begrudgingly helps him escape, and during that time he convinces her that he's innocent, so now she has to bring him back and convince the father this guy didn't do it. But it was okay. It was Hitchcock. 5:36, Singularity. Kind of a Terminator / Hunger Games ripoff. If you watched it, you would know what I mean. This boy pops out of nowhere after 100 years. Doesn't know what happened, just pops up. And he befriends this girl who's dead on for Jennifer Lawrence from Hunger Games. I mean, dead on. And they pair up and they're fighting robots because robots have taken over the Terminator. And yeah, and of course they have a little fling. They fall in love, and I got through it. John Cusack was in it, and he helped, but I don't think he was trying very hard. 5:37, Highlander II, The Quickening. This movie got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. 0. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it is bad, but it's not that bad. It's corny bad. It's silly bad, but it's fun. It's fun. I got through it, no problem. I don't know what Sean Connery was doing in this. He was just... It's like they filmed the movie and it was too short. And you know what we need? We need 20 minutes of Sean Connery just goofing around. That's what it was. Michael Ironside played the bad guy, and there's one scene that's so ridiculous. He hijacks this subway train and makes it go full speed, and they're going 700 miles an hour. What subway can go 700 miles an hour? But yeah, if you like the first one, you'd probably like the second one, Highlander 2. Yep. 5:38, An Inconvenient Sequel. Obviously the sequel to Inconvenient Truth. Basically, it's Al Gore saying, hey, I was right, folks. You better listen. I'm warning you. Yeah, that's about it. There was one part where he was doing like a 24-hour broadcast, and it was just happened to overlap and be a couple blocks away from the London shootings a couple years ago. Remember that? Yeah, that was strange. So we had to cancel that out of respect, you know. But yeah, another one where if you liked the first one, you'd probably enjoy this one. 5:39, all the way back to 1981, Galaxy of Terror. This was a bad alien ripoff with a touch of Star Wars. Getting the spaceship to go help this other stranded spaceship on some weird alien island, and they get there, and of course there's these silly looking bug aliens. It's kind of like a prequel to Starship Troopers if you think about it. But Yeah. So they're all getting mangled and murdered in weird ways. It was interesting to see a young Robert Englund, pre-Freddy Krueger, in this, but yeah, this is a B movie. 540, Mothman of the Mothman of Point Pleasant. Very good documentary. Another Seth Breedlove, as he's popped up a few times on this list. A lot of old tape footage of interviews, because a lot of the people from the Mothman incident back in the 60s are all passed away now, because it was a while ago. And the bridge collapse that happened right after the initial sightings, it kind of went in a timeline. It kind of showed a timeline, and it kind of went spot by spot by spot of what happened, and then it talked about it, and then they had talked with the witnesses, if there were any, or footage of whatever, and they had some recreations that was very good. So it was a very good, well put out documentary, if you're interested about Mothman. Now, here is my own personal story. I was getting ready for work one day, and I got a little cartoon to go with this. So if you're watching on a device where you can see what's going on and not just listening, you might want to watch. But I was getting ready for work, and I poked my head out look out the bathroom window to see if it was raining, and it wasn't. But I noticed there is this thing on the neighbor's roof, and it was the thing was black, but this was about 5:45 in the morning, so it was just bright enough to see the outline of it, and there was foliage behind it, but I could see there was something on that roof, and I could see little like little wings poking up. It wasn't like they were out, they were like behind it, because I don't think it was facing my direction. I think it was facing the other direction. I was seeing it from behind, and I couldn't see the chimney of the house is just on the other side, and I couldn't see the chimney. All I could see was this thing, so it was blocking out the chimney. So I don't know if it was next to the chimney, or squatting beside it, or stooping over it. I don't know, but I couldn't see the chimney, but I could see this thing. But it didn't really move, and I probably looked at it for a good minute or two. It might have been longer. And my cell phone is garbage, so I didn't take a picture, which I should have just kept staring now that I look back on it. But yeah. And then I was worried about being late for work, so I said, well, this could be something, this could be nothing, but I gotta go. So I left, not knowing what I was looking at, but there was something on that roof, and I'm glad it didn't look at me. So I did some research on this, and I found there's been tons of sightings just like this in Chicago, which is not too far away from here. It's an afternoon drive, and they've had tons of sightings of pretty much exactly what I just saw. So I don't know. They described it as a winged bat creature or whatever. Not exactly. Mothman has been described as having the wings behind him like a bird. So I don't think this was Mothman. This is whatever. But I'm glad it didn't look at me, because that would have scared the life out of me and probably would have hurt my soul. To be making eye contact with some winged harbinger of doom. But anyway, that's my story. So, hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on. 541, American Breakdown. This was garbage. Amazon had it listed at 2 stars out of 5, and I learned not to trust Amazon's ratings, because they make it very hard for people to rate movies. You can't do it on your device. You have to go online on your computer and do it. You have to go through process to get to that spot to make review. You can't just do it right after watching the movie like you can on Netflix or Vudu. A lot of people just don't leave reviews, so that's why some of these movies have weird ratings. But this has James Gandolfini and Steve Carell and a bunch of recognizable people. There's no way this could be 2 stars out of 5. This is a 2-star out of 5 movie. Gandolfini, for once, it's garbagely low budget. It's just nothing. It's just thrown together. It's a bunch of little short stories. Steve Carell's in it for 5 minutes, and in his little scene, he's playing dodgeball. And that's it. I don't think he ever talked. This film should have not spent so much money on getting actors and tried to make a real movie. And the Gandolfini scene is this bar scene where this guy breaks in and he's this ghost and skip it. 542, this one. I never knew this movie existed. Michael Jackson's Ghosts. That's what this movie is called. It stars Michael Jackson. This was actually released. It's rated R. These group of people of varying ages, from elderly to like 5 years old, go to this haunted mansion run by Michael Jackson. And I don't know exactly what their idea was, but they go to this mansion, and this middle-aged white man, who is obviously Michael Jackson, dressed up as Michael Jackson. Well, he's a middle-aged white man who's portrayed by Michael Jackson, and you can tell it's Michael Jackson portraying a middle-aged white man, and he's giving the actual Michael Jackson a hard time, but it's hey, Michael Jackson, I'm a middle-aged white man. You better watch yourself. And Michael Jackson starts singing parts of songs, and these other ghosts show up and they start dancing around, and they eventually win the hearts of the people that broke into his mansion. All 20 of them, half children. I don't think there was a plot to this. It was just there. Yep. Can't recommend that. 543. Can't recommend this either. Kill Your Friends. Nicholas Hoult movie. Who's usually pretty good. He played J.D. Salinger in that Rebel in the Rye movie that I was high on. Not high while I was watching. I was high on it because it's good. I did that a couple 100 films ago. But he plays a record producer, and to get to the top, he decides he's going to kill the people next in line so he can climb that next rung, and he thinks that'll work. And it doesn't. Surprise, surprise. This was listed as a horror movie. It's not a horror, not at all. A drama comedy, maybe, with a little bit of violence. But nothing special. 544. Curse of the Faceless Man. Another movie from the 40s. They dig up this Aztec mummy, and it starts moving around on its own when no one's looking and kills the people. And it starts going after this one woman because this faceless wrapped mummy recognizes the woman for some reason, because it looks like someone the mummy knew from thousands of years ago. So it starts stalking her, and they got to figure out a way to stop the mummy, and the mummy just kind of collapses. And that's the movie. Yeah. These old movies, God. It's not like they're hit and miss. It's like they're never better than just okay. My opinion. 545. Deceived. I think this was an early 90s movie. Goldie Hawn and John Hurd. It was weird to see John Hurd in this role. She thinks the first 30 minutes of this is so nothing. And then it picks up and you learn John Hurd's a pretty rough little guy, and he's messing with Goldie Hawn, making her life miserable, and eventually she has to fight back. But Yeah, weird castings. Goldie Hawn, really? A thriller? Whatever. 546, cash only. This was interesting. I believe it's on Netflix. This landlord who's in deep, deep, deep debt kicks out this hooker from one of his buildings, and she has a bunch of cash. So he says, well, this cash is my cash now. So he starts paying off all his debts, and then the hooker's pimp, whose money it was, starts saying, I want my money back. But he already spent it, so what do you do? So they kidnap his daughter. And so he was trying to run all these little scams, promising all these people spots in his buildings when there's not really spots available, so we can get a down payment from them, so we can get some quick money and pay off all these debts. And yeah, interesting film. 547, Lost Highway. This is a David Lynch directed movie. Stars Bill Pullman. This was purposely made to be confusing, and it was. Interesting, though. You would think with a movie like Lost Highway, it would be some kind of road movie. But no, not at all. Bill Pullman has a stalker in the house. He keeps getting sent tapes, VHS tapes. It's from the 90s, so VHS tapes of someone walking through his house and doing whatever. And eventually his wife gets murdered, and he gets blamed for it. So yeah, it goes from there. But weird movie. And that house they were living in, I've never seen a house with so many dark corners. It's just poorly lit. That's things I notice. 548, Thoroughbreds. This was a good movie. Anton Yelchin's final film. That was sad. But these two girls, one has a stepdad that's a real doozy, so she wants to kill him. So she gets her friend to help her, and they decide to enlist the help of local creep Anton Yelchin, who's the 30-year-old that hangs out at teenage parties. He's that type. So they enlist him to help them with the murder, and they blackmail him. But yeah, this thing fell apart, but the plan fell apart. But it's hard to describe this without giving away much. But it's a very good movie. I highly recommend Thoroughbreds. Yep. 549, another weird movie from the 40s, The Snow Creature. I have pretty decent luck with low-quality Bigfoot films, but this one's not so good. They go to get the Yeti, and they bring it home, and it escapes, and it's in the sewers, and it's causing problems, killing people. Yeah, that's it. Whole lot of not much. Good luck staying awake for this one. But yeah, not a great film. Finally, 550, The Invisible Woman. Boy, Ralph Fiennes can make some really boring films. It's about Charles Dickens. I didn't know this. The story was interesting, but apparently, later on in his life, he had an affair with a very, very, very young actress. And it was, back then, that was very controversial. But he did it, and he posted a public statement, said, this is what I'm doing, leave me alone, yada, yada, yada. So, but not very well told. This movie's so boring, so long. It had to be at least 2 hours. I didn't check, but gosh, it kept going on and on and on and on and on. But, that's all we got. I can tell you what's coming up, because I've already watched a bunch of movies into the next batch, because I'm behind on making shows. But I got the Beyond Bourne versus McEnroe movie coming up. That was actually really good, but I'll tell you about that next time. And then 10,000 Saints with Ethan Hawke. A horror movie called Devil's Whisper. A horror movie called Moth. A horror movie called Ghost Story. A horror movie called It's in the Blood. A horror movie called Vampire. That's a lot of horror movies. So that's what's coming up. Those are what I've already watched, so we'll get reviews of those. So hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you next time.